building dialogue with yourself, building friendship with your inner world. It sounds kind of like a little bit crazy things, but actually it's some kind of tools that really helpful, especially when you are trying to reach your ambitious goals, something like be in a better shape, fix your relationship with yourself, with food, with other stuff, and especially when you are trying kind of to become a little bit different person, to build this new identity. And since I'm on my weight loss journey, on my health journey, and I'm trying to improve my relationship with myself and build healthy relationship with food, I found actually that things like self-trust, self-love, self-respect, self-acceptance are very, very important. And kind of shortcut to all those states is actually starts with building dialogue with yourself. So I've seen this phrase about building relationship with your inner voices, with your inner self, kind of creating friendship with your inner world. And I really like this phrase because it really feels so true. We care about our loved ones, we care about our pets, we care about many things, but probably the most important person we need to care about, the most important person we need to have very good relationship with is actually ourselves. And unfortunately, good relationship with ourselves is not something that somebody is teaching us. It's not somebody who is teaching us how to do it and what is a good way to build those kind of relationship. That's why I think it's so very important topic, especially during those sensitive and so personal things as weight loss journey, as health journey. So the most obvious first step when we try to build a relationship with ourselves is actually have space for that. So we need to do a little bit of planning. Luckily, we do not need a lot of time for that. And I'm talking here about a couple of minutes, but every single day when we're going to devote to this, and you can just know this is me time. This is my personal time. I'm not going to deal with anything else. I'm not going to deal with anybody else. This is time only for me, for my inner voice, for myself, for relationship with myself. And we need to find like a nice quiet space where we can do it. Obviously it depends on your lifestyle. What works for me now, it's when my husband goes to work a bit earlier than I do, so I can use that time. Also when I take shower or when I drink coffee alone on the balcony, so nobody is around me at that time, or maybe when I'm on one of my walks, or maybe even when I do workout, but during workout it's a bit harder, but walking is fine. Walking does create this space for kind of self-love, self-acceptance, for thinking. So anyway, look at your lifestyle, look at the time you can devote to that. And luckily we really don't need a lot of time, but it's actually crucial to know, okay, in your schedule, to as important as it is to do all your chores, to do all your job responsibility, spending time with yourself is as much important, definitely even more important than any other chores or responsibilities that you have. Next point, it's something that I've mentioned previously. It's about asking questions, and key point here, it's when we are not judging, when we're only being curious. So we ask ourselves questions, something like how I feel now, what do I want, how I want to spend my mornings, what kind of food I would like to eat for breakfast. Maybe we can start from something very simple. What kind of life I want to have 10 years later? How do I feel around people in my life now? Is there something that I would like to change about my life that I'm currently not happy with? And all of those seemingly simple questions are building up this trust, building up this self-respect, self-trust, self-acceptance, way better than any other tools, because You can lie to anybody, you can try to trick anybody, but with yourself you always should be honest. And the only way to be honest with yourself is actually to ask right questions, to be honest, and to know, no matter what the question is going to be, no matter what the answer is going to be, you always will show yourself respect, you always will show yourself support and love. That's why it's so important that when we are asking those questions and when we are answering those questions, the key emotion here is curiosity, interest, but definitely not judgment. And it takes time to learn. It's something like a skill, and I have a separate video about that. But once you start kind of feeling that this curiosity is getting bigger comparing to judgment, and this inner voice of self-acceptance and self-love is getting much more stronger than this inner critic in your head, life is kind of getting really so much different, so much enjoyable. So it's totally worth it. Another workable tool is journaling, and this is something that I'm not completely sure how I feel about. I know people who swear by that, who loves that, and they think that journaling is probably the best thing happen in their life. I like journaling. There are moments when I really feel like I want to write it down. But also there are moments when I don't feel like doing that, and then I just prefer a calm talk to myself while I'm drinking my morning coffee. So you need to test it for yourself, but definitely journaling, it's a nice tool. You only need to see if it works for you or not. Next part is connected with those inner voices that I have already mentioned. So it's a big topic by itself, and most probably I'm gonna do a different video about that, but probably you know and you heard already, because it's already in popular science and in popular psychology, that we kind of have inner voices in our head, and it's completely healthy. We are not crazy. And those voices kind of have different functions. So we have somebody who we call inner critic, so in most cases criticize us. We have somebody who is like inner perfectionist, who is trying to do everything perfect and unfortunately sometimes stops us from reaching our goals. And we also have some positive voices like self-acceptance, self-supporting voices. And we can give them names, we can even imagine the way how they look, and it's a good idea to know those voices. Why? Because we can use them for our benefits. And we need to know how to stop those negative voices in your head, especially in those moments when we are weak and vulnerable. And we need to know how to trigger and start those positive voices, especially when we feel like we need them at some particular moment, in those moments when we kind of lost motivation or we don't feel that good. I heard about these inner voices work a lot. I heard about it from some popular psychology book that I've read before even, and from NLP courses that I've passed when I was like a teenager. And somehow, like, I didn't feel that it's something for me, but recently, especially when I started thinking more about bad relationship with myself, about fixing my problem relationship with food, about my binge eating, about my emotional eating, it seems like such a nice tool, and it has so many areas of how we can actually imply it to our life, to different aspects. And definitely it's a very big topic, and as I told, I'm gonna make a separate video about that. But what we can start with is just start listening voices in your head, especially when something triggering is happening. It's like you had a failure, or you had some kind of mistake that you think is a mistake, or you feel that you are kind of working but you still cannot reach your goal. And especially in those moments, those voices with some negative language are waking up, and it's a good idea to know them, because when we know them, when we can identify them, we can deal with them, we can do something with them. And while they are still somewhere there in like a blind spot, we are not controlling them, but they are controlling us. And this is a very critical thing to think about. Another thing that I'm thinking of trying, but I still don't feel kind of like confident about that, it's speak it out, speak it out aloud. And it feels like if I were really going to start talking to myself like aloud, it's kind of like I'm going to reach a new level of craziness. But according to the research, according to the experience of other people that I heard about and I read about, it seems like it's quite a powerful tool, because in this case, this friendship with yourself, this communication with yourself, this dialogue with yourself is not only happening already inside, but kind of we already start bringing it outside, which create additional angle, additional kind of perspective to our relationship with ourselves, to our self-trust, to our self-love, to our self-acceptance. And then, as I told, I do not feel comfortable with that yet, but I'm trying to implement it daily, or at least a couple of times per week, in order to explore this area. And once I feel some progress or some kind of insights about that, I'm also going to make a separate video about that. And my last point to mention in terms of building dialogue with yourself is the rituals. In case you're interested in psychology, probably you know that our brain loves rituals. Rituals help humanity to build society, to build some habits. Rituals, let's say rituals are very important, critical for our brain. And those rituals can be positive or negative. So when we feel miserable and go to fridge to eat a cake or a huge bowl of ice cream, it's also a ritual, but probably this is a ritual which is not gonna help us to reach our goals, especially health related goals. But also when you feel like bad and you go to shower, or you go for a run, or you go for a walk, this is also some kind of ritual, but probably a better ritual from the point of view of our mental and physical health. So we can also create a ritual in terms of building dialogue with ourselves. And what could it be? So the idea here is that once we're doing any particular regular action, something like drinking coffee in the morning, lying in your bed and thinking about something before you fall asleep, when you walk your dog, when you having your walking workout, when you do some home chores, it can be practically anything, but it should be something that you do more or less regularly. If it's every day, perfectly. If it's like every other day, also fine. And you need to connect this idea of talking to yourself, this idea of building dialogue with yourself, building healthy, good relationship with yourself to that particular time. So let's say every time when you drink your coffee in the morning, or every time when you drink your herbal tea in the evening, or just a few minutes before you fall asleep in your bed, you devote this time to talking to yourself, to asking yourself those questions, to being honest with yourself, to trying to monitor those inner voices, to all those things which are connected with building this healthy dialogue with yourself. And while you're repeating it every day, or every single day, every second day, you will see that it's getting easier and easier to build that dialogue, because it's not something new. It's getting like a habit, and it's getting so much faster and easier because your brain don't need to learn it from scratch. You already have a habit. You already have the experience of having this feeling of being able to track those voices, and it makes the situation so faster. And I already told in some of my previous video that I have a little bit different ritual connected with my coffee. And you know, when I take that particular mug and pour coffee there and sit, I don't need to wait till I'm going to reach that particular state, or when my mind starts thinking about that particular topic, because I already have such a deep connection between that particular coffee mug and that particular topic and that particular mental state, that it's enough for me only to touch that mug, and I feel like my brain already start leading me into that state. And it's hard to explain to somebody who never experienced such feeling, but really, please give it a try. It's such a nice feeling to build those habits, and to know those habits are going to work for us, going to work for our benefits, going to help us to reach our goals, rather than having all those, we already still have those rituals anyway, just we are kind of blind and we are on autopilot, and we're still doing it anyway, but probably with no benefits for us. Why not to do it more consciously, but already already be able to have all those benefits. So I hope you find this video useful. Maybe you notice practically all my last video on this channel are devoted somehow to this topic of self-love, self-trust, and this is something I'm really very passionate about right now, because I see it's working. And before I was very skeptical, and I thought it's like kind of, it's not for me, it's not working. But the more I test it, the more I read about that, the more I play around with different techniques and tools, the more I see how blind actually I was. What a nice tool it is, what a nice feeling it is to start having a better self-trust, better self-love, better self-acceptance, actually start having better relationship with myself. It's like, it's hard to describe. You really need to feel it yourself. So thank you for being here with me. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you soon.